गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय कुंज बिहारी यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनातिरवनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी नन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनातिरवनचारी जय कुंज यशोदानन्दना व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुनातिरवनचारी जय कुंज बिहारी यमुनातिरवनचारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी जय राधा माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी युगधर्म श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय सावेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवतसेवया भगवतेरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 19, King Pruthus 100 Horse Sacrifices, Text 38. सत्वं विंश्रशया भवं प्रजापते सत्वं विंश्रशस्य भवं प्रजापते संकल्पनां विश्वसृजां पिपीर्हि ऐन्द्रिं च मायम् उपधर्ममातरम् प्रचण्डपाखण्डपतां प्रभोजहि सत्वं विंशशस्य भवं प्रजापते संकल्पनां विश्वसृजां पिपीर्हि ऐन्द्रिं च मायामुपधर्ममातरम् प्रचण्डपाखण्डपतां प्रभोजहि सत्वं ब्रह्मस्य भवं प्रजापते संकल्पनां विश्वसृजां पिपीर्हि ऐन्द्रिं च मायामुपधर्ममातरम् प्रचण्डपाखण्डपतां प्रभोजहि Anybody else? Any Matajis? Word to word meaning, translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So, the aforesaid, Tvam, you, Imrishya, considering, Asya, of the world, Bhavam, existence, Prajapate, O protector of the people, Sankalpanam, the determination, Vishwasrijam, of the progenitors of the world, Pipiprahi, just fulfill, Aindrim, created by the King of Heaven, Cha, also, Mayam, illusion, Upadharma, of the irreligious system of so-called sannyas, Mataram, the mother, Prachanda, furious, dangerous, Pakanda Patam, the path of sinful activities. Prabhu, O Lord, Jahi, please conquer. Translation: O protector of the people in general, please consider the purpose of your being incarnated by Lord Vishnu. The irreligious principles created by Indra are but mothers of so many unwanted religions. Please therefore stop these imitations immediately. Purport: Lord Brahma addresses King Prithu as Prajapati just to remind him of his great responsibility in maintaining the peace and prosperity of the citizens. Maharaj Prithu was empowered by the Supreme Personality Godhead for this purpose only. It is the duty of the ideal king to see that people are properly executing religious principles. Lord Brahma especially requested King Prithu to conquer the pseudo religious principles produced by King Indra. In other words, it is the duty of the state or king to put a stop to pseudo religious systems produced by unscrupulous persons. Originally, a religious principle is one given by the Supreme Personality Godhead, and it comes through the channel of disciplic succession in two forms. Lord Brahma requested Prithu Maharaj to desist from his unnecessary competition with Indra, who was determined to stop Prithu Maharaj from completing 100 yagnas. Instead of creating adverse reactions, it was better for Maharaj Prithu to stop the yagnas in the interest of his original purpose as an incarnation. This purpose was to establish good government and set things in the right order. Om Agnanatimirandasya Gnananjana Salakaya Chakshurunmilitam Mena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsha Shri Rupam Sagrachatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parichana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamsha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashatade Satarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gaurasve Namaha हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगतपते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्यैव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे मुखं करोति वाचालं पङ्गुल्लङ्घयते गिरिं यत्कृपः तमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुं दीनतारिणम्. Hare Krishna. So before I start speaking, I seek the blessings of His Grace Anandamai Prabhu and all the assembled Vaishnavas so that I can speak on this verse for the glorification of Lord and my purification of heart. So in this particular section, we are seeing how King Prithu wanted to perform 100 Ashwamedha yagnas for the pleasure of the Lord. His intention was to please the Lord so that all the citizens get benefited by that. But Indra, he thought it otherwise. He thought that he is competing with him, and he thought that Prithu wanted to become the king of Swarga. So, you know how he tried to, he stole that horse, and when he was being attacked, he took various forms as a sannyasi and different, and tried to stop them from killing him. So later on, eventually, when the Brahmanas wanted to uh, you know, give ahuti and finish Indra, so that time Brahmaji comes and he stops. And here we see how King Prithu is very submissively hearing to his superiors and stopping the 100th sacrifice. Because as Prabhupada is mentioning here, King Prithu understood the purpose of the yajna. The purpose of yajna is to please Lord Vishnu. Uh, The purpose of yajna is not to show who is great. Right? It's not that King Prithu wanted to show that he is very great, so he is able to perform so many yajnas. For him, the purpose was very clear, uh, that I want to please Lord. So he understood that by stopping the yajna, uh, so Lord Vishnu will be more pleased than performing the yajna. So immediately agreed for stopping the yajna. And interestingly, we see that all the instructions after stopping the yajna are given to King Prithu only. Suppose somebody does a mistake, so generally we feel that the person should be given instructions on how he should reform, right? Not the person who is affected by that. Yeah, sometimes we may have to give the person who is affected by the mistake so that he is in proper consciousness. But generally we do. But here we see Brahma and later Lord Vishnu also instructing King Prithu. So, but we see King Prithu never arguing. Generally, even when we commit a mistake and somebody starts giving instructions, then we tend to argue. That's our normal tendency. We tend to defend, saying that no, I was correct, somebody else is wrong, why you're correcting me. Uh, so, because the nature of false ego is so strong that it doesn't want to accept any corrections, uh, right? But glorification, it is ready to hear. Right? As long as people want to glorify, oh, continue, no problem. But when it comes to correction, even little bit correction also, people don't want to hear, right? So we can understand how much our false ego is strong, right? When especially we are being corrected or given some corrections, instructions to change our behavior, how much we are willing to accept and reform ourselves. Sometimes we may hear, maybe because we are subordinate, okay, okay. But in the mind, and then later through our actions, we may be doing exactly opposite, right? So, but a devotee of the Lord, he submissively hears. Uh, if there is actually his mistake, then obviously he will ask forgiveness and uh, hear it and try to change his behavior. And even in case there is no mistake of his, he may try to clarify, but still, if they correct, then he accepts it as mercy of the Lord for his purification, right? And then he goes ahead in his spiritual life. He doesn't retaliate unnecessarily. Hmm? So, uh, here we see King Prithu, because of his ideal behavior, we see eventually Lord Vishnu is so pleased that later when he wanted to leave, he was not willing to leave. He was so much touched by the qualities of King Prithu. He was so much inspired, touched by his qualities of cooperation, forgiveness, shown by Lord King Prithu. Lord Vishnu was so pleased with him, that he doesn't want to leave his association. So, means the qualities of the devotee are so exalted sometimes that Lord himself feels that he doesn't want to leave his association. Just like Lord Chaitanya, when Haridas Thakur was willing to leave this world, He said, how can I live without your association? Lord was telling. Hmm? Lord Chaitanya said that I get purified by your association. So here we see that Brahmaji is telling that please remember the purpose of your uh, incarnation. So Maharaj Prithu is empowered to rule. So in that way, he is empowered by the Lord. So as a king, he is supposed to protect the religious principles and make sure that all the citizens in the kingdom are following the religious principles, and there should be no pseudo religious principles in the kingdom. Jai Shri Shri Radha Madan Mohan, Shri Shri Jagannath Baldev Subhadramai, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai Ki Jai. So that is one of the duties of the kings, to make sure that no pseudo religious systems are being followed in the kingdom. So if King Prithu would continue fighting with uh, King Indra, then Indra would give rise to more and more different forms of irreligious systems. Because when Indra took those various forms, people started the irreligious systems of not following the principles in the scriptures, but according to their mental concoctions. So it is wide prevalent in the current society actually, the pseudo religious principles, systems. Basically, not following what is mentioned in the scriptures, but whatever they like according to their mental concoction. So we see that people use scriptures as a medium to propagate themselves. Right? That's why we see that so many people have written commentary on Bhagavad Gita. Because Bhagavad Gita is famous. So they think that, okay, I also want to become famous. So use Bhagavad Gita as a medium to become famous. So generally we go for book distribution. We see that uh, like sometimes we want to distribute Bhagavad Gita. So some people say, no, I also have written a Bhagavad Gita. I have my own Gita. Sometimes they say, I'll give you, please come. No, next time I'll give you my own Gita. So Prabhupada also, when he went to West to preach, so he saw that already there were so many versions of Bhagavad Gita. Already. So many Mayavadis have written and already sent it to West, and some have already shifted there to preach also, right? So it is so much prevalent in the society. So, but how do we understand that Srila Prabhupada's commentary is right? First thing is that it is coming in the parampara, and also we see that when people actually apply these principles which are given in the Srila Prabhupada books, they are transformed. Prabhupada said that after studying his Bhagavad Gita, so many people have got transformed. We see actually, because of Prabhupada books, millions of people all over the world got transformed. So I used to feel that sometimes why so much Prabhupada is writing this about Mayavad or Voidism and all the various interpretations. So I used to think, is it really so prevalent? I was not having so much experience. So recently I had gone to one conference on philosophical research organized in one college. So I was shocked to see that 95 or 99% people have been, who presented papers in that, we're all doing interpretations, speculations. Like one person, he presented, he said that Big Bang theory is also there in the scriptures. So first he presented Big Bang theory, and then he started telling Om Purnamada Purnam Purnat Purnamadachyate. And then he said everything starts from zero and everything merges in zero. No, according to him, this sloka means that. Uh, so I was shocked that how people can bring out so many varieties of interpretations, uh, right? So, uh, then I realized that actually it is so much prevalent in the society. People, they want to become famous, so they use scriptures as a medium and try to give their own interpretations. Like Prabhupada keeps saying how some people say that our body is like Kurukshetra, five senses are like Pandavas, and surrender to the something within. Like that, so many useless interpretations, right? So that's why there is a great need that you know, people in this world should get this knowledge, Bhagavad Gita as it is. That's why Prabhupada so much emphasized on book distribution or preaching, because people, they are pious, but that because the Mayavad is so much prevalent in the society, that people are getting deviated, distracted. You know, in that conference, one more person asked a question that, okay, there are so many processes, which process to follow to one person? Any process you follow, ultimately you have to become what you are worshipping. Right? And then you stop that worship, no need, because you have become that. Uh, so like this, people are giving so many interpretations, all kinds of nonsense, right? So so there is a great need, as Prabhupada mentions in the purport, to actually give this knowledge in all schools and colleges and in the society, so that they understand what the Supreme Lord really wants us to do or follow in our own lives, not what these mundane speculators uh, want to. Tarko apratishta shruteyo vibhinna, right? So they keep on giving so many interpretations, mental speculations. So another thing here, uh, which Prabhupada is focusing in this particular verse, is how, uh, one minute, how King Prithu is following the, is understanding the purpose of Lord appearing in this world, appearance of Lord. He is understanding the purpose of Lord and accordingly behaving. So he is not doing according to his own mindset or according to whatever he decides. So, uh, so King Prithu, he could also have exhibited his false ego, saying that why I should hear to all of you. No, I am doing for the welfare of citizens only. No, so you should tell Indra to stop, not me, right? So it appears to be correct only in that sense. He could have also argued that actually Indra should be stopped. You go and teach him, right? I am not wrong, right? But he understood that you know, Lord Brahma or Lord Vishnu wanted him to stop, and he immediately listened. And King Indra would have not listened. In that situation, he was very envious. He was very disturbed. So a disturbed man, it is very difficult to hear instructions, right? Even if he hears, nothing will enter, in his heart. So he is not going to follow. So better, that's why they instructed King Prithu. So it is very important that we understand the purpose behind every rule and regulations which we follow in spiritual life. That's why Rupa Goswami has given this Niyamagraha. So there is Niyamagraha and Niyam Agraha. So one is neglecting the rules and regulations. Another is following the rules and regulations just for namesake, superficially, ritualistically, not understanding the purpose behind them. So once one shopkeeper, he told his security that anybody comes to the shop, they should put their chapel outside at the entrance. So he was very obediently doing it. So whoever would come, he would tell, please you keep your chapel here. So one day one person came, he kept his chapel in the car only, and then he came to the shop. So then the security man said, no, you should keep your chapel here only. Right? So that is niyamagraha, right? Not understanding the purpose behind the rule, right? So same way, sometimes we also don't understand what is the purpose behind what we are doing in Krishna consciousness. We just ritualistically do without understanding purpose. Like in Pune, once they removed Prabhupada deity for painting, something like that. But many devotees were just coming and offering dandavats, but there is nobody there. In the sense, it has become so ritualistic that we just come and hard follow, no, offer obeisance and just get up without much seeing or thinking about whom we are. They may be thinking, but we also have to see sometimes, right? So also when we participate in kirtans or participate in the artis uh, or chant the holy names, follow the morning program, we should all understand that and the purpose is to become attached to the Lord. One should not see it as a burden on the head, or we should not just see as some rule and regulation. Okay, because I am staying in temple or yoga or whatever. No, I'm supposed to be here, right? Otherwise, there is some punishment or something like that. So then it is more like a ritual. We are not so okay. Initially, okay, rules and regulations, okay, but gradually we should uh, try to genuinely develop that love and attraction for the Lord. So recently, I had visited His Grace Murli Vinod Krishna Prabhu, who had got fractured. Recently, he had an accident where one of his leg got fractured, broken. So they had put one rod, and one hip bone also broke. So there also they kept a plate. So we know how Prabhuji is very eager for morning program. Even during COVID, he would stand outside from the entrance, take a chair or something and stand from the wall, watch Mangalarti. So every day he would come so eagerly for participating in. So now because of his fracture, he is not able to come. But he is so desperate that still he gets up at 3 and watches all the morning program on YouTube. So he was telling that how eager he is to take part in the morning program. And even when we announced the scores, he said that he claps hands there. No. So although he is physically not there in one sense, but actually he is there because his heart is here. And we may be physically here, uh, but sometimes or many times our heart may not be here, right? Because we are not so eager to participate or uh, take advantage of what is being arranged here, right? So the purpose has to be very clear. Dharma sunishtita pumsham vishwakshena katasayat notpade dadirathim shramayve kevalam. So whatever duty, whatever work you are doing, ultimately it should help us to develop that rati for hearing, chanting the glories of the Lord. So if our duties or whatever we are doing is not leading us to that, then it is Shramaya Kevalam. So the purpose has to be clear. So we are chanting every day 16 rounds. We are attending Mangalarti, we are hearing Bhagavatam class. But we should ask, are we really absorbed? Are we really taking shelter of Lord? Are we developing our attachment to Krishna? How much longing we are developing? Or are we feeling it as burden or headache? Right? Or are we just ritualistically attending like a machine? Right? So, if the purpose is not clear, then you will not achieve the goal. Right? So, same way, just like we chant the holy names, but we forget what is the purpose to please the Lord. We don't follow the 10 offenses. Like the first offense itself is to blaspheme the devotees, right? So, in one lecture I was hearing that you chant holy names and you are blaspheming devotees, criticizing devotees unnecessarily, then it is like worshipping Lord and later taking a stick and beating him on the head. The devotees of the Lord are so dear to the Lord. So then if you are unnecessarily criticizing devotees, offending Vaishnavas, then actually you are not understanding the purpose behind what you are doing. Right? So same way, we may be doing lot of management, but the purpose of all management is actually to increase the hearing and chanting program, right? The purpose of management is not to increase sense gratification, right? The purpose of all management is to increase Shravanam and Kirtanam, right? So that should be very clear. So Srila Prabhupada, he was very clear about what is the purpose of the scriptures. That's why when he took sannyas, we see that the yajna was going on and there was a kirtan and they told to reduce the sound, reduce the volume. Later Prabhupada said, no, increase. Right? So he had so much faith that this is what is real yajna required for this age. Right? So there are principles in the scriptures mentioned, but the principles may be adjusted according to time, place, circumstances. So we see Narada Muni telling to Dhruva Maharaj in the 4th canto, 8th chapter, 54th verse, he mentions, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Mantre Nanena Devasya Kuryad Dravyamayam Buddha Saparyam Vividhair Dravyair Deshakala Vibhagavit. So he is saying, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This is a 12-syllable mantra for worshipping Lord Krishna. One should install the physical forms of the Lord, and with the chanting of the mantra, one should offer flowers and fruits and other varieties of foodstuffs exactly according to the rules and regulations prescribed by authorities. But this should be done in consideration of place, time, and attendant conveniences and inconveniences. So, according to time, place, circumstances, one may sometimes change the details of how one may worship the Lord, but the principle remains the same. It's not that the principle of worshipping Lord changes, right? It always remains the same, right? But how one may worship the Lord, it may change according to time, place, circumstance. So because Dhruva is in the forest, so he may not get everything, right? So according to whatever is available, so he is telling Dhruva to worship the Lord. Same way, in the 1st canto, 9th chapter, 9th verse, Bhishma Dev in that section, when he is leaving this world, this sloka comes. Stan sametan mahabhagan upalabhya vasuttama pujayam asha dharmagno deshakala vivagavit. Bhishmadev, who was the best amongst the 8 Vasus, received and welcomed all the great and powerful rishis who were assembled there, for he knew perfectly all the religious principles according to time and place. So, who can change the principles or the details of the principles? Is those who understand the purpose behind them. Not everyone can change because everybody doesn't understand the purpose, right? Uh, so great souls, they understand the purpose and they may change the details. So here Bhishma Dev is on the bed of arrows. So when all the great souls came there, so he respected them still by sweet words and by his glance, by respectful glances towards them, acknowledging their presence, right? So he could not get up and offer dandavats, right? But accordingly he respected them, right? So we see Srila Prabhupada, how he changed uh, the details of some principles while preaching, right? Some people actually criticized Prabhupada for it, but Prabhupada knew what is the purpose, so he changed. Like we see that traditionally all the temples should have gopurams, but in the West we see that Prabhupada sometimes took some house on rent or some church and transformed into temples. The purpose of temple is uh, what? Worshipping the Lord and glorifying the Lord, uh, explaining the scriptures. So, if that purpose is is going on, then there is not different from the temple. It's not temple is not just structure, because there are so many temples Prabhupada saw that in India where there is everything, but actually the purpose for which it has started is not happening, right? Pujari may be ritualistically worshipping just to get money, and there is no preaching of the glories of the Lord, right? But Prabhupada knew the purpose, so he could change the details, right? So, like Prabhupada, he traditionally the brahmacharis would go and beg alms, uh, but he saw that in the West that is difficult. So Prabhupada introduced book distribution, the same principle of begging alms in the form of book distribution, right? So he is, because he knew what is the purpose, uh, so he could change the details. So same way we see that sometimes we change the timings of darshan, or on festival days, special occasions, we may keep the darshan of Lord for more time. Understanding that by taking darshan of Lord, more people get benefited. So in this way, but at the same time, Prabhupada was very careful also, that in the name of changing, we don't forget the principles. Like one devotee put lot of ads in the Back to Godhead magazine, but they are not good. So Prabhupada was not happy, because the purpose of the magazine is to enlighten the people in Krishna consciousness, not that their consciousness goes down by seeing those various ads. Uh, so, same way somebody asked Prabhupada about polygamy, that can they marry multiple women? Prabhupada said no, that will be sense gratification. So, just because it is mentioned in the scriptures, everything cannot be imitated in Kali Yuga. Prabhupada said it's not for Kali Yuga, right? So, an Acharya, because he understands the purpose behind the principles, purpose behind whatever principles mentioned in the scriptures, he can adjust the details, right? So, some people who didn't understand Prabhupada's broad mindedness and his purpose to give Krishna consciousness, they were they were upset or angry with Prabhupada. Like why Prabhupada gave Brahman initiation to Westerners or sannyas to Westerners, they were not happy. But Prabhupada understood the purpose, right? That it's not just by birth, right? It's by guna karma vibhagasha, right? So Prabhupada, he could change all the details because he understood the purpose. So in our lives also, whatever we are uh, doing, so there is a topic called why we do what we do. So when we understand why we are doing what we are doing, that means we understand the purpose behind what we are doing. So it should be very clear for us uh, what is the purpose behind every activity which we are doing. Then we will do that activity very thoughtfully, not ritualistically, mechanically, right? When we do mindlessly, then actually we don't absorb ourselves what we are doing. Like in Mangalarti, if you are just mechanically present without absorbing yourself, not understanding the purpose, so and your heart is not there, so although you may attend entire morning program, but at the end you may feel, Arey, I don't feel any no attraction for Lord, or no, sometimes it happens. Devotees say, I'm doing so much, but I don't see much attraction for Krishna. Still, I am attracted to Maya only. Uh, because, yeah, we are attending, but are we really there? Hmm? Is our mind really absorbed in taking shelter of Krishna? Or what shelter are we taking? Right? So, when a devotee is clear about the purpose of each and every activity he is rendering in Krishna consciousness, right? Then he will advance in Krishna consciousness. Same way, one's work also. Prabhupada said one should adjust one's life in such a way that he becomes Krishna conscious. But sometimes we see that people do prayas, atyahara prayasascha. To acquire more and more money or facilities, they do more endeavor. Or sometimes they say that no, in future it will be helpful, or I'll make a big house for preaching, uh, or no, something like that. But actually, by that time, they are only not there because they work so much that they are not continuing in Krishna consciousness, right? And they do so much prayas that they are no more in Krishna consciousness. So that's why the purpose should be clear, right? Uh, why we are doing what we are doing, right? And if you are not clear about the purpose, then we should ask, right? Then it becomes clear. It's like if you are going on highway, so if you don't know where you are supposed to go and why you are going, then you are considered mad, right? Right? Because a mad person only doesn't just roams here there without knowing where he is going and why he is going also, right? You should know both where he is going and why he is going also. So you may say, I am going to Bombay, but why? Just I say, right? Then it is time pass, waste of time, right? So we should know both, right? So many of us know what we are doing, what we are supposed to do, but we forget why we are doing what we are doing, right? So that is very important. So we'll end here. Thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Samveta Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.